Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, P Street Garage. And I'm going to take a little break from my VW bus. I'm going to take a little break from the grinding and welding. And I'm going to do a little maintenance on my old C4 Corvette. Last year, when I put this car away, I noticed just how lazy my pop-up headlights were getting. And my battery was getting a little bit weak. So let's get this battery changed out, and I ordered a kit from Amazon to overhaul these pop-up headlights. So let's tackle that. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so we got the battery replaced. That went pretty well. So let's get this car fired up and see how bad these pop-up headlights are. And before I do that, this is the little kit I got from Amazon. There's not much to it. It's basically the gear wheels. And that's what they are. A couple of gear wheels that spin with these little pellets. And apparently the pellets get destroyed, and that's what causes the gearing to slip. Anyway, I got to figure out now how to take this apart, how to pop out these units, and try to open up the section that has the gear drive and replace these. Let's see how this goes. All right, let's test this new battery and see just how bad these pop-up headlights are. Okay, you can see battery's perfect. These pop-up headlights are completely shot. They were getting bad last year, but I could still kind of get away with them. Now let's take these apart. I've never done this before. Let's take these apart and try the overhaul kit and see if we can make these work. Alrighty, I'm going to start with the passenger side, and I believe this whole assembly comes off. There's a couple of electrical connections down here coming off the light. I'm going to pop these two connectors apart. Then there's a series of bolts all around. A couple here, There's some on the other side, but I'm not even sure yet which ones have to come off. I don't know if all these have to come off, or if you can go to this torque screw right here. This might just separate, and then there's another bolt in here. It's going to be a little bit of trial and error, and I believe these two bolts have to come off here. 1, 2, 3, 4 for sure, and then maybe 5, 6. I don't know if this has to come off or all of them. I don't know. Trial and error. Let's give it a shot. All right, well, I've got this pretty much loosened up and ready to come off. This literally took 5 minutes. So both electrical connections are let go from down here. That's these two here. And they were inside one of these little grommet type things. So I just opened this up. So here's the 2 free wires. The 2 bolts on the bottom. There was two nuts here. And I'm just in the middle of doing the nut right here. And every one of those is 10 millimeter. And then there was this little bracket that sat in here like this. And this one was a, what was that one? I think 13 mil? 13 mil. And then there was another little nut inside, same size, 10 mil. Now I went and took this off here. There was also a little Torx bit here. Right now I'm not even sure. I don't think I would have had to take that off because I think that's going to come off with the whole bracket. So I'm just going to put this back in right now, just in case. I don't want to lose it. So I'm going to undo this last nut, and this whole assembly should fall right into my hands. Okay, so my unit is out. I've got it in the trunk of my car. So, and just so you can see again, the fasteners for the C4 Corvette for the pop-up headlight. This is a 1990. 2 on the bottom, 2 on the side, 2 on the other side, but that incorporates this little angle bracket here. So there's 6. It's all 10 millimeter. These are nuts. 2 nuts, 2 nuts, 2 long bolts. And on the other side of this arrangement here, it almost looks like a little carriage bolt. In fact, that's what it is. It's a carriage bolt. That is a 13 mil, I believe. Yeah, 13. And that's it. With the two wiring harnesses. Depending on the year of C4, the earlier C4s is a completely different arrangement. I believe some later C4s, I think they have only 1 large wire instead of 2, but I'm not 100% sure. This is for a 1990, kind of a, I guess what you would call a second generation C4. So I'm going to quickly do the other side, and I'll take these to the workbench and see if I can make heads or tails of these gear wheels and these little pellets or bushings that go in there. So while I'm on the passenger side, I just thought I would mention, maybe some of you spotted on the other side, there is an extra wire that comes in through this grommet, and I didn't mention it on the other side. But what this is, this little one here, I keep this one disconnected, and that is for the under the hood lighting. Those are known to be a little bit problematic. They kind of have these little almost like leveling switches or level switches. So to make a long story short, sometimes even if your hood is shut, if those lights come on, for whatever reason, it could drain your battery. So I've always just kept these ones disconnected. But anyway, I just thought I'd mention that these pass through the same grommet as the other 2 leads for the headlight. Let's get this off. All right, well, here's both of these lights, and this is kind of how they sit in the car. I've marked the driver's side one with a bit of tape because, I mean, once they're off, it can get a little bit confusing. Now, Apparently, the driver's side is a little bit easier to do, and that's because the bolts on the motor are exposed. And I think, although I'm not 100% sure, I think you can just pop these off and pull out the gearing assembly. These are 6.5 mil. I don't have 6.5 mil, but I tried this 1/4 inch, and I think that's going to fit exactly the same. So 1/4 inch socket. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to pop this off and see what happens. Now, for the passenger side, everything is sort of reversed on this one. I don't know if you can see that. So the screws for this are actually on the inside. So that's where this entire assembly is going to come off. And at this time, I don't know how to do that. So I'll put this one aside a little bit for a second. I'll concentrate on this one. See if I can get these bolts off. Can I reach this one? I think I can. Actually, I can't. Okay, how am I going to get to this one now? I don't know. This is a little bit in the way. Somebody said there was a bit of a hack. I saw this on YouTube. Somebody else had whittled this down. I'm going to try to avoid that. So just stand by. I'm going to flip this around and see if there's a better way. So what I'm going to do is try to take off this, there's like a Torx head bolt here. I'm going to try to pop this out, see if that gives me a little bit of movement. Worth a try. Okay, it's kind of a long bolt, this one. Now, will I have any luck moving this at all? Oh, a little bit. Okay, there we go. That might be just enough to... Oh, it's not much. See if I can do this without dismantling everything. Okay, this seems to be just enough to squeeze the socket on there. So. And I mean just. Okay, so I got that third screw out. Now let's see if this cover will pop off. The wire's a little bit in the way. Okay, I felt a piece of gasket. All right, let's get this back down underneath. Okay, so what's this gonna look like? Okay, so there, okay, careful gasket, because my kit did not come with a gasket. Not that this is not that this is a critical gasket, but there it is. It's in place. There's a little bushing of some sort here, so this looks okay. Now, how does this work? I see grease in there. Now, I don't know if this is going to come out. I'm not sure if this comes out or if it's got to come out the other way. I think it would come out this way. Okay, let me grab a bit of a prying tool here. So I've had no luck trying to pull this gear out. I thought that this would just be able to pop out, but I think that's incorrect. I think the whole motor assembly's got to be removed from this. So I do have the cover off. I'm going to leave it off. There's a couple shims that came with this. I'll make sure those go back in the right order. And what I'm going to do now, I'd already removed this big bolt. And there's a couple of bolts on the back here. Let's see. There's one down here. And there's one down in here. Hard to see. And then apparently this little block here, there's a little spring pin or some kind of a pin that has to be tapped out. So I'm going to try to tap this out, remove these bolts, and then try to pry this motor off the assembly. Let's see how this goes. So I just gave this little tiny pin a tap and it's starting to come out. So I'm going to try to pull it from the bottom with the needle nose, see how that goes. Not quite. Now it's almost out. The reason why I can't get in there is because my punch, the tip of my punch is broken and it's not long enough, unfortunately. I've got this little screwdriver. I don't know if that'll do. Probably not. Almost out. Almost, but not quite enough. What about a bigger one? Maybe. Okay, so there's the little pin. That's going to have to go back in later. Now, to show you on this side, there's one screw left. There's one screw left. I don't know if you can see that. One screw left down here. I got to pull this screw out. This one's out. And I think once these are out, I'm going to be able to separate the motor assembly. Okay, well, I've had to reposition a bit. This is a real pain in the butt, I'm not going to lie. So all the screws have to come up. You just saw me pull out the little pin. That's the little pin that lives right in here. That's out. So there's a screw here, if you can see that. That's got to come all the way out apparently. Get this one out. Gosh, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get this back together, to be honest with you. There is one in here that has to be loosened, right where my fingertip is. I got this one loose, and then there's one here on the side that has to come out. I don't know if you can see that. All right, let's try to get this one off. At least they're not very difficult to turn. that must be out by now. Gotta be. Not quite. Not quite, but almost. Oh my gosh. What a right pain in the butt. Okay, maybe I'll have to loosen that bottom one more. Okay. Okay, there it is. That screw just fell out. Thank you very much. That's the one there. Now this should be free, and it should be free to be pried off of this, as in pry with a prying tool. Oh, just fell out. There we go. Or did it? It did. Okay, so my motor is now free from the rest of this arrangement. My gosh, this is one of these little limiting devices. Yeah, okay. So now basically I think, because this is the driver's side and the bolts were exposed, I was assuming that you could just pull all the guts out this way and then carry on your merry way, but it's not the case. You did have to separate it, I think, and then I think it's just a matter of pushing this out, and then you can just push this out from the back and then open this up. Okay, now gotta be careful, there's more shims back in here. Okay, gotta be delicate here. Let me lay the assembly down and then we'll open this up, see what we find in here. All right, well, I got you in this, right in the shot there. Let's pull the, there we go, look. When you open this up, you see all this white powder in there? You see all this white powder in my hand? It's just full of white powder. And that's what's, and this white powder is the remnant of those little bushings that ride in here and spin on this gear, which rides on the worm wheel that's on the motor. Pretty remarkable how much that could have deteriorated. Here it is right here, see? That's it. That was my issue. And let's take a quick peek at our replacement. So again, this is my little kit from Amazon. Very inexpensive. Just basically a plastic gear wheel with 3 little bushings, pellets, bushings, whatever you want to call these. There's really not a thing wrong with this, but since I'm in here, I might as well go all out. And all it is these go into place. And we'll reassemble this with a little bit of grease. And with any luck, I can put this back together and we'll have some working pop-up headlights. Well, at least we found the problem. And I guess, like I said, the operation started degrading the last couple of years. It was doable. Last year was getting bad. And, well, I should say end of last season, it was pretty hideous. So anyway, we found our issue. It's not a very expensive fix. It's a very cheap kit. Now let's, I'm gonna get cleaned up here. I'm gonna clean up this mess and start reassembling. All right. Okay, let's attempt to put this back together. So here's my motor. You see the worm wheel in there. That looks all good. There was 3 little shims that were at the bottom, so I'm gonna make sure those go back in. Give this a quick wipe. Looks good. I'm gonna give this a wipe. That looks good. I got my new gear with the bushings. I'm just going to put the bushings in. And with the bushings in, I should be able to just push this into place. Okay, there we go. That should be nice and snug, nice and firm. I've got a little bit of this molly coat. It's a little bit of it's kind of like a white grease. It's good for O-rings and plastics, so it should be fine. I'm going to put some in here. That can only help a situation. All right. Let's get our shims back in. Get our 3 shims in here. Now I should be able to just push this in place. Okay, that's back in place. You can see that. When the motor spins, it's going to spin the whole assembly. Okay. Now let's put our cover back on. And that's our cover with the 3 little 1/4-inch bolts. And this one had, this side had 2 shims. Make sure those go in there as well. So I'll just put those over here. 2 shims. Let's see, how did this go on? My gasket's in place. Okay, how did this go on? Good question. Not like that. Does it maybe only go on one way? Let's see. Nope. Nope, okay. Only goes on one way. Takes care of that. All right. Okay. 3 little screws, 1/4-inch. Let's drive these in. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what you can see. I think you can see me holding the motor there. And what you got to do is you got to slide this in. There's a large hole over here. And this part of the shaft that has this tiny hole that you can see here, that's where that skinny pin goes in. And it has to go in through this little block. So you have to sort of line this up and bring it in here and make it so that this shaft slides into this hole, and then the pin is going to join the two together. Now, additional to this, I got to put my little mechanism, a little limiting mechanism. I think it goes like this. I think. So anyway, this is going to be a right can of worms. So you basically got to put this in position, slide the pin, and then you can put the two bolts from the back, and then that one long bolt that's in here. So I think what I'm going to do, I think there's going to be a little bit of cursing and fussing about. I think I'm going to put you on fast motion, and I'll do my best to show you what I'm doing, but in a nutshell, this just goes back in here. Bolt, bolt, bolt. This has to be in place, and the skinny pin's gotta go through this and through this block, which I don't even know if you can see. I'm not even sure if you can see this little block. And this is probably one of these things that would take 5 pairs of hands. Right there. I don't even know if you can see that. This would take 5 pairs of hands, but of course there's only room for 2 fingers, so you can watch me struggle through fast motion for this one. Okay, I don't know if you could see that, but what I had to do is I had to twist the motor up. I had to twist the motor up to get it to clear so I could push it in. So I've got it pushed in through the block. So there's the middle of the shaft right here. And then I got my little, see the tiny little hole on top? And that looks like it might be lined up. I didn't have to tap it in or anything. It's semi-lined up. So now I got to wiggle it and try to put this pin in. This little pin, that's got to go in there. And that's going to lock everything in place. And then I can turn the motor back down. I can manipulate it by turning this. Then I can rotate this down. Hopefully this doesn't fall on me. Then I can bring this back down in alignment so that this, I believe, comes down to here. The whole thing will rotate. Let's see. Yeah, there should be a bolt hole in here. This one. I got my little pin started. Now I've got to delicately tap it in, and hopefully it's in the right orientation, and then I can rotate this down and get the bolts in. I think this is the hardest part of the job, dealing with this pin. Let's see if I can get this in. So I think I got my alignment right finally. So let's just try to drive this pin in. And you got to be pretty delicate. Okay, it is going in slowly. Feels good. I just don't want to bugger anything up or bend anything. No. Let's try this again. Almost there. Pin is all the way in. Now let's try to get these bolts in. Remember this, where are you at? This long one went over here. Let's try that. Tighten that up. And then there was two little ones that went on the inside. One was here, somewhere like this. And then this one goes down here. Of course, this housing's in the way, so I'm gonna have to play with the motor a little bit, unless I can sneak this in. I don't know. Yeah, I think I can sneak this in. Let's see what else we got going on. What else is there? So that's good. This is going to be tight. This bolt, this bolt. Then there's one that goes here. And I got to snug up the one. There was one down there that was loosened up. I don't know if you can see that. I'm not even sure if you can see where I'm pointing my screwdriver. There's one in there. That has to be tightened up. And hopefully we got this right. And we can put this back in the car. Let me get the rest of these bolts in and snug everything down, and then see what we got. Okay, so I got my light all back together. All the fasteners are tight. I've got the wire all re-snaked where it's supposed to be. And yeah, it's all done. Now, how would I describe this job? I would describe this kind of like building IKEA furniture, only worse. I've done a lot of IKEA furniture and it's kind of hideous. And this was a little bit hideous, but it's done. I'm going to do the passenger side headlight now, and I'm going to do that off camera, not to bore you, and then we'll throw them back in the car and see if we have headlights. So this is the other side, passenger. And because I knew what to do this time, I took the motor off. It literally took 2 minutes. And now this one's built a little bit different. You can't really push it through. Huh. Okay, there's our gear. That's a good shape, just like the other one. Now I was having a hard time. Oh no, there we go. There may be shims on the bottom. I gotta be careful. Look at all that powder. That completely disintegrated. Okay. So the only thing I could say about this job is I just mentioned how hideous it was. That was my first one. I think the second one here, I'll have this done like literally in probably 1/4 of the time, if not sooner. All right, let's get this wrapped up. Got the headlights back in place. Wires hooked up. Let's give them a test. All right, moment of truth. Get my hand on the switch. All right, let's look at that from the outside. Get the full effect. All right, guys, well, that's what you call success. It actually happens once in a while. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.